Hi, everyone, and welcome to a belated seal of approval. For those who might not be aware, we did start to stream on Wednesday, but I kind of deal with these things called vestibular migraines, and they can make me feel very, very dizzy, and they're not that fun. They're not that fun. And I set up a camera specifically to film Cammy. It's been like 20 seconds, and she's now like, if you can see,
she's got to the one place the camera can't reach.
Yeah, I'm trying to get her on camera, but Cammy, you can't. Oh, God damn it! It's like the camera literally just won't reach, but she's right under there. Like, she's right under there. But. Yeah. Right. Well, I'm going to set up Cammy Cam for there, and so when she goes back onto her perch, well, she's sorted off now. Anyway, she's now sitting under the desk, so she'll be back. So there will be Cammys. There will be Bidens. There will be Milos. There will be protests. There'll be some great British banter. There's going to be, it's Friday night. So we're going to have a fun
night, motherfuckers.
So, yeah. So joining me on this Friday evening is the same people who were joining me on Wednesday. Scrump and Dunk. How are you guys?
We are here. Yes. Hello. We are here, and y'all are there. That's a very deep reference only a few of our viewers will get.
Well, I would hope a lot of our viewers would have seen the Pillars of the Community Christian video that I did. I do use that line right at the start before I kind of go into a brief history of like the golden age of Chris.
I've seen that video. His first video uses the cold open to some videos to great effect. But let's not make this a Christian stream, otherwise we'll be here all night just talking about Christian.
God, no.
It's true. So with that, introductions are quick, but you know who we need to see, who we haven't seen in quite a while, actually.
The Seals of News.
This is the Seals of News. The Seals of News. Look,
we must gaze upon them.
The Seals of News. They're back, and in greater numbers. And so we have
exactly the same numbers.
It is the return.
The return, yes. Return to ice. Return to snow. Return to seal.
Return to seal. So we have 4 seals they've picked out some prime news, because at least since Wednesday, I feel like that there's actually quite a bit more to talk about. So it has actually been a bit of a blessing in disguise. So we have the Milo seal, the protest seal, the Great British seal, and the Biden seal. So yes. Scrump, would you like to pick a seal?
We've got to talk about the Biden thing, because it literally just happened.
Yeah, right. Let me. Oh God, there's so much Biden. There's so much Biden. There is actually
many layers of Biden.
Like, this is Biden. Biden is actually a bit of a deep dive this week, because he's been having quite a lot of different adventures. So before this video ends up getting kind of blacklisted by the internet, can you see that? Yeah, you should be able to see that. Right. So for people who haven't seen it, check this shit out.
Might want to full screen that if you can, but
oh yeah.
1, 2, 3. There he goes.
Oh yeah, he got himself up eventually. It's there. That's real presidential energy there. Like, you wouldn't see Trump. You wouldn't see Trump standing.
They need to hire better doubles.
That's like a Benny Hill ending.
It is. It needs
a real Benny Hill ending to it. So I've seen the footage of him falling up the stairs. Like, that's the other amazing thing. He's falling up. But it's it's a little silly. It's like, hey, I meant to do that.
Yes.
Salute the Marines.
Jesus Christ. So, like,
salute the Marines.
So this is quite interesting, that if you type this in Google, Like, there's actually quite a lot of news on it, and
Yes,
I just want and I want to compare this to something else which we were actually going to touch on Wednesday. So we might as well touch on it real quick before we go into the more kind of serious repercussions of Biden falling up the stairs. So some of you might have seen another video involving Joe Biden. Let me just bring that up here. Let me put it back to the start.
Green screen.
Look at his legs.
Look at this.
But then look at the microphones.
Look at the microphones.
Look. He's somehow in front of them suddenly.
So let me try and look. So you got this. So according to the camera angle,
something, if you can.
Yeah, let me play back speed. Here we go. A quarter speed. Right.
We're slowing it down here.
Look. This is as slow as YouTube will go. Look, so you've got all these microphones, these massive microphones that are much bigger than him.
They must be as big as like a 10-gallon drum microphone. Look at it.
Look at them. Look at they must be not even giant. So I just want to kind of keep on with that clip. Like, look at that.
They're bigger than his head.
They're massive. So if you try and search in Google for Biden microphone, what kind of stories do you think you will see?
I think we will see some debunking going on here.
Debunking.
A debunker has
We
entered.
must debunk.
No,
Biden didn't fake an
CGI in a clip or something.
Yeah, it's going to be mostly false.
Biden didn't fake an interview. Conspiracy theorists think Joe Biden used a green. Snopes, false. Biden didn't fake comments. Fact check. Green screen conspiracy. Strange optical illusion has conspiracy theorists claiming Biden shot it in front of a green screen. No evidence.
It was swamp gas.
Tries to like. The only ones that aren't debunking on the first page are the last two. One which is Biden tries to speak to a turned off microphone.
The thing is, there's a lot of people been putting out like alternate angles of this video, which aren't much better. It's not just the microphones; it's his skin. Like that is obvious green screening. I don't care what anyone. I don't care how debunked it is.
Because you need obviously you can chuck on the end bit as well, where he's walking towards the helicopter and the scales just all off.
The helicopter starts looking tiny as he moves towards it.
What? Which one's this one?
There's a second clip somewhere. I don't think you have it to hand.
Probably. I don't heard of this.
But there's a second angle of this where he looks. Look at it.
Look at that.
There's a green haze.
Giant that boom must be.
It's so big.
Oh no, the big hairy one there. Look at it. Look at that.
Look at the hard edge on it. Look at how soft that is in focus. And look how hard in focus his hand is.
And
look at it. Look at that. Look at how motion blur on that, but the lack of blur on him is just. It doesn't even hold up at a glance. Like anyone looking at that would be like, "What the fuck is this?"
Yeah, but guys, debunked.
It's been debunked.
It's been debunked. It's not just that it's being debunked, because whenever anything pops up about Biden or any of the Democrats nowadays, debunkers get on it hard. But the entire first page of Google is just debunked.
And before
that's all it is. Oh, and Google has no bias. Google has no bias. By the way, we must tell everyone that this clip, which doesn't mean anything. This is one of the stupid things about it. It doesn't mean anything. Like, okay, was he actually speaking to some reporters? I mean, like, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't. But this clip does look fake. But why the hell would any of this matter anyway? It's not like he says anything particularly amazing in it. But then what I find more alarming is the level of debunkery about this. Like, no, we must shut this down. No, you must not talk about Biden being in front of these massive microphones.
I'm just noticing the missing top of the head.
Top of his head.
Look at the top of his head. Look at his hands.
What the hell?
Yeah,
like,
look at the top.
Oh my god! Like, how is that? Is that light shining off his head?
It might be, but like the thing is, it
Like,
becomes so occluded.
That looks like a halo. That looks like a halo. Like, look at that.
It looks like really bad, like color matching and blending.
Just gets so much bloom.
Yeah, the lighting's off.
Fam, hook me up with that conditioner.
He's been filmed in a much higher light environment than what's around him. That's why he looks so odd in the scene.
That's the shiniest looking head I've ever seen. It's pure white. It literally looks like somebody is just like, it really does look like a bad crop job.
It is a bad crop
they just
job.
haven't cropped his head properly.
I don't know. There's something about this. Part of me thinks that they're just fucking with us at this point.
I kind of think so.
That's what I say. Like, it's going to be like next week's Cope Away. Here's why CGI leaders are good for the benefit of the people or some shit.
I mean, we already had like the fortifying the election article, the O.J. Simpson "This is how I did it" kind of post from. I think it was like Time, wasn't it? Time magazine did it.
Yes, it was. It was Time magazine. Yeah. It was like, what did they call it again? What did they call it?
Falsifying the election. They did.
There we go. Fortify. It was it. Yeah, we weren't fixing it. There wasn't any election fraud. No, it was fortifying. Get it right.
There was a cabal.
Because they know that. Yeah, that's another thing. They use phrases like "fucking cabal." Like that doesn't really give me a friendly image.
I've been talking about. I don't know. I've been talking about this a little bit with some people, but there's something that the Q people talk about that is a little out there that they think is like a Satanist thing that they call lesser magic. But the method by like what they're observing is true. That not only do they do terrible things, they have to tell you about them in great detail. They have to admit to it, and that's how they demonstrate how powerful they are by doing something terrible and then rubbing it in your face and proving that there's nothing you can do about it. That's what this feels like. This feels like we are blatantly going to put out these horrendously CGI'd images, and what are you going to do about it?
Yeah,
what it feels like.
Again, like this wouldn't be on anyone's radar at all. Like a politician talking to people in the media. Okay, it's a bit interesting for Biden because he doesn't really take questions all that much. I mean, say what you will about Trump and his hatred of the media, he would at least make efforts to talk to people.
Yeah, even if he was just saying you are fake news to them.
Yeah,
at least he takes
he at least kind of but he at least told them what he thought about them to his face, or to their face rather. He would at least have that kind of back and forth with them. And that was honestly one of the things that I really liked about Trump, that he would just tell them to fuck off. I mean, that for me, it was, especially when you see the way in which like the media acts as a lapdog for the Democrats nowadays. Like they really shouldn't be having a full page of debunking this clip. It just doesn't feel right. And I wouldn't even say this is an alt-right conspiracy to say this looks like it is done on a green screen. It just genuinely looks like it was done on a green screen. It's almost like gaslighting. It's almost like gaslighting. It's like if you like you should, like, again, let me just replay all this back. Like, look at his head, look at the microphones, and you show this to anyone who doesn't even have any kind of interest in politics.
Well, see,
and then say, if you think that this is fake, oh, you're basically a fascist.
No, that's what I was going to say. The issue is this isn't for the normies. This is to humiliate people like ourselves. We understand it's kind of dodgy.
The edge of him is so sharp.
So when we are given such an obvious case to say that, this is weird, and then they go and suggest that it's not, it's like a humiliation. We're just being told we're wrong over and over again.
Yeah. That's what it really is. It's a kind of a nod at the people who notice these kind of things and who aren't kowtowed by the debunking. The normal people go, oh, it looks a little weird, but I guess it was an optical illusion. I guess it was swamp gas. But it is. It's things like this are either just such extreme leaners and incompetent as a consequence of unaccountable power, or they are quite literally. It's like a vulgar display of power.
Yeah.
It's one of the two, and it happens so often and with almost such tactical timing. And with such coordinate response, I'm starting to think it's the former, the latter rather than the former. So,
so let's go back to the story, like Biden's story of the day. His great adventure up the staircase.
I just realised I have to make a Gorillas the Fall meme now. I've just realised that. I'll go and make that after the stream.
Right. So again, let's just put this on again.
Over, the ex-president sort of, you know what I'm talking about? The rap artist. Come on, I've forgotten that now. That's a shame.
Thought has been lost.
Yes.
Please save us, Rose.
F.
I just had to put it on slow motion. sorry, Duncan, what are you trying to say?
I remember the thing is Scrump knows the answer. You just won't tell me because it makes you sound like an idiot. But all right, whoever makes ex-military, but I'm just imagining ex-president as him sort of tumbling over down the stairs.
Death grips.
Yes, death grips. Thank you.
I thought I'd put you out of your misery.
You think for something that lines up what I'm in, it shows I'd remember it.
But yeah, it is even. The thing is, I don't know. I hate to get into the whole thing, but like, politicians and other people use doubles. They do. Yeah. And politicians and other people have had CGI'd press conferences or CGI'd elements of events in the past. It is a given that this happens. It's an open secret, and nobody really seems to want to talk about it. It's like how in the 70s suddenly MK Ultra was real, even though it had been a complete conspiracy theory for the previous 20 years. It's that kind of shit. It's we know that they have doubles. In fact, they'd be retarded not to have doubles because of the security situation that they're in. It makes sense. And there's been a whole lot of shit about Hillary Clinton and some really unconvincing doubles as well. But like, the thing is, Joe Biden seems like a different shape and has a different posture in some of his appearances. And like I said, there's also these issues because he's not taking questions. He appears to be green screened in certain images. It's existed in the past. I know there was the whole fake Melania thing, and that was actually probably a double. She may have been sick, may have been doing something else, but Trump has to appear with her at official functions, so it may have been her double, but that's kind of routine. But the incompetence with which this is being pulled off by the Biden administration with a man who is very obviously in cognitive and physical decline, mostly just because of his age. Is nearly, the man's 78 years old, and he wasn't looking too complementous during the Obama administration. So
he's the oldest serving president.
At least he's not touched any kids yet, though, on camera.
Yes, he has.
Has he? Since inauguration?
Since inauguration. Since inauguration, he's barely been in front of camera anyway.
That's true. I
still think he's regularly putting a lid on things, and he's the fucking president. So, he'll take the time out of the day. Him and Kamala Harris will take the time out of their day to tweet about, it's another day. Let's get to work, and it'll always be a picture of them. They'll be walking around the White House, so it'll be usually outside. There'll usually be a picture of them, photo of them outside, mid-stride, wearing a mask. And it's like, let's get to work.
It's almost just like Maoism. It's all just cultural signifiers of a regime that's failing.
It really is. It really is
extremely Maoist. You get a lot of those low-angle, kind of desaturated. It's almost like the reality is becoming that flat art. It's becoming fucking Allegra or whatever it's called out.
Global art.
Yeah, the global homo art. It's like the reality version of that. Just you see low images of squinting Biden and Kamala Harris with masks on, with a slogan over them in text in an extremely polished. And it looks like one of those Bloomberg videos, or it looks like it looks like every single slick media segment in the last 5 years. It's just all blended together, and that's like it is. It's like we will look upon that from the future as like the Maoist paintings or the low-angle communist drawing shit. It has that real feel about
Statues of George Floyd and that.
Yeah.
I just want to kind of compare. I just want to show like another example of a president on a ramp and the kind of headlines that we had.
Here it is. Slopegate.
Trump defends slow walk down West Point ramp. It was very slippery.
I'm going to say
President
the man
Trump,
didn't even slip.
Here is how people reacted. Trump's halting walk down ramp raises new health questions. the president also... No. But he had trouble raising a glass of water to his mouth during this speech the day before he turned 74, the oldest the president has been in his first term. Why the Donald Trump West Point ramp story actually matters. And so just kind of remember that for when we get the debunking, the inevitable debunking. And honestly, I'm genuinely shocked that they haven't pulled things out yet about this.
There's a lot of people coping with it, saying, "Well, no other man that age could recover that quickly from that." It's like, well, he fell 3 times, but he got it. It's like they're celebrating the fact he didn't lay there and have to be attended by paramedics.
At least he didn't wet himself.
Yeah, he injured his ankle, possibly broke it a few months ago, playing with a dog. And they're now celebrating the old man falling down but still getting up 3 times. It's like that is how low the bar is.
Well, yeah, I mean, these are the same people who regularly criticize Trump for playing golf, but when Biden played Mario Kart, that was he's taken it easy. He's a cool president. It's like, I mean, I absolutely love Mario Kart, but I don't think. I mean, first of all, he's playing Mario Kart Arcade, which is terrible.
It is terrible.
It is absolutely terrible.
With a fucking wheel.
You play Mario Kart Arcade. It's a proper arcade cabinet.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, it's a proper arcade cabinet, but it just doesn't feel or play like a Mario Kart game. It's just like a normal, kind of like arcade racing game, but with Mario Kart skins on it. And and it has Pac-Man, and you can play as Pac-Man and some of the ghosts in it. And that it's a garbage Mario Kart game, but it's not a proper Mario Kart anyway. But yeah, it's I would say that there's certainly more style with playing golf than there is playing Mario Kart.
Oh, by the way, are you seeing your super chats on the back end still, or is that still not happening?
Oh, that is a good point. Let me double check.
I've had a few.
I've seen them pop through. Let me double check. Them
here. I just wanted to remind you, I've still got them here just before they disappear.
Yes, right. Let me just because I haven't got that window open.
Briefly, if I can interject to Mr. Gently Benevolent's comment, the spirit of Lenin still lives within me through the pasties.
Oh yeah, for anyone who missed the lost seal of approval, the aborted
stream.
That sounds terrible. That sounds awful. But yeah, Duncan was using a Greg's Bowl, Greg's Bolshevism as an answer to Greg's nationalism icon, with Lenin holding a steak bake.
Yes, it's definitely there is an actual problem with the way that some super chats.
It's not open. It doesn't actually pick them up, is what I've noticed, because I refreshed at the end of my last stream last night, and all the super chats disappeared.
I've got 2 super chats up. But I know that there was at least 1 or 2 more.
There's 3 that I can see. There's one from Green Guard. Can you see that?
I can't, no.
All right. Well, Green Guard donated £5 and said,
thank you.
long time, first time, yo, conspiracy star. Can you get Daddy Deb to dump on us already? Missing that show. They will be forthcoming. Like I said, he's getting out his more current content. Kind of the newer stuff to pick up on the newer stuff, if you know what I mean. But there are dumps in the tank that will be dumped on you. Some are quite a good vintage at this point. So you will have at least 3 dumps dumped on you at some point.
Aged like a fine wine.
Yes, they are. They are fermented dumps.
Fermented dumps.
Can you see the one from Gary
yes,
Thomas?
I can. Just to kind of add with Dev, his latest videos have been really good. I'm glad he's back to doing proper videos, which I hope to be quite soon.
Yes, I wish he'd stop being a giant Canadian centrist, but that's kind of his whole shtick. So
Gary Thomas with the $10. Hey Rose, nice to see you feeling better. As for Biden, as this point, all I can feel is pity for him. It's obvious he is degenerating at a rapid rate and should probably be in retirement now. He was degenerating during the campaign. There were the clips of him basically farting. In fact, there are 2. There are 2 clips where it's not like a cartoonish, like Peter Griffin style fart. It's more like a kind of a senile old man that you can just kind of hear. It's like a fart that's just kind of slipping out, but it's
what you can
loud.
Describe as a windbag.
Yeah, it's just kind of like a. What the? Who's farting? No, we're going to quickly move away from the fight because we're a highbrow. We have seals here. We can't taint the seals with this potty humor. But yeah, you can really hear him kind of fart, and it it's either farting or he's shitting himself, and like he's doing this in things in the campaign. There's one particular video where he's doing his he's doing a film from his bunker or his basement rather, and like he clearly like farts or something, and the guy on the other side, like he clearly reacts to it. He's just like, what the hell? And then there's the one where he's in the church. There's the one where he's in the church. So like he's been senile for a ridiculous. Can you imagine the
smell that man's rotting innards produce?
Oh God. Oh, like there's a bit when he like introduced like his daughter as his wife or something.
He introduces his daughter as his wife. He introduces his wife as Beau Biden, who's dead. And the whole crowd goes ooh and goes silent. It's horrible. Oh no! Everyone feels bad.
Crazy, but this is but bear in mind, this is the most popular president in U.S. history. He is more popular than Barack Obama, considerably more popular than Barack Obama, considerably more popular.
Well, I'll link it to you on Discord, but as a quick aside, there was a legal ruling recently in Michigan, which showed that their changing of their election law was completely illegal. So basically, they have posthumously, too late, but they have posthumously invalidated the Michigan election in many ways. So a lot of people are talking about the conspiracy theory, but the Michigan election has had pretty hefty judgments put against it in the post-term kind of stuff. So, what is it? It's Genske versus Benson. If you guys want to look at that,
I got it on the screen now.
Yeah, there's starting to be some legal rulings about the entire changing of the ballot to a mail-in ballot, which was not particularly legal. That's how they did it, really. But this is the consequence. You're right. It is like the fading years of Mao. It is like the failed revolution.
It's why I'm really quite excited to see what the 2024 election is going to be. Because
they'll not even make it that far.
Like, the thing is, I know Biden isn't going to. I suspect by this time next year, Kamala will be president. Someone who had like an approval rating of 0 within her own party.
I don't know. I think they'll keep CGIing Biden for as long as they can, just like they kept Febrezing Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Like, Ruth Bader Ginsburg didn't appear in public for like 6 months.
I think there's also something to be said for, especially since about March last year, the window of time through which you can actually predict things are going to happen is incredibly short. Stuff changes so much every week now.
That's true.
Who knows, where we'll be in 2 months' time, never mind 2 years, 3 years.
The pipeline is shortening and the timescales are narrowing.
Yes.
Yeah. But I'm at the moment, one thing I'm finding quite interesting is how the establishment is really turning on Tucker Carlson. And they've been turning on him really hard over the last week. Like I kept on seeing this one bit of like John Oliver apparently calling him a white supremacist, and there was loads of news outlets saying like John Oliver skewers Tucker Carlson, like points out exactly why he's a white supremacist. Other outlets saying that he is, he's even worse than Trump. And it's like, well, yeah, I mean, they remember hearing a while back that there were rumors that he might be interested in running for the presidency. So what better way of kind of getting on the rug if they can start painting the narrative of, oh, you thought Orange Man was bad.
If Tucker Carlson got into the Republican primaries, they would have to pull some absolute blatant cheating shit to stop him from winning.
Handlers would step in well before that.
Possibly. It's like I said, it's a case of the real reason they hate Tucker Carlson is he's criticized the Pentagon and the defense industry.
But he's also like an asset of the Pentagon.
Well, he's publicly against the forever wars. I don't know. We'll see. There's a lot of stuff about Tucker Carlson which says he may or may not be compromised. We will see. But like I said, it could be interesting to see him get into a more political situation. But yeah, they might yank the chain on him before that.
But I think that someone like him, if he ran in 2024, I think that like if effectively they could get someone who kind of has like the same populist narrative that Trump had, but is more competent.
they'll just roll out the voting machine. They were really taken by surprise in 2016. Like that really just put the wind up them, and you could tell by how hard they cried. The cry was real. I've never seen cry that hard. But they won't make that. Like what they did with the 2020 election was just so broad daylight. You could, there was no denying it. You could just see it. On the surface, it looked dodgy, and the stuff underneath was even worse. They'll just do that again. So really, there is kind of a lot of people, I think, are just settling on the idea that there is no political solution at this point. But I don't know. That's kind of,
they are correct.
Well, at least in Minecraft.
At least in Minecraft.
At least in Minecraft.
There is no political Minecraft solution in Minecraft, in my Minecraft server.
In Roblox.
In Roblox.
In Roblox.
Yeah, go. What is it? Go. The Roblox meme is "Go commit not alive."
Yes,
to
on
get
my
around
Christian Roblox server.
Yes. Go commit self-oof.
Yikes.
Let's oof some politicians in Roblox.
Yes.
Sorry, I don't know why you're self-oof.
I'm going to put the oof noises every time Joe Biden falls down, and I'm going to make so many memes when I got time.
Brilliant. So back on Biden's nice trip. It's kind of a nice way of rounding out what's been a really successful week for him. So one of my favorite Biden. This is basically the Bidens of news at this point.
This was
based Putin.
Sorry. Before I forget, there was a super chat. Did you see one from Hammurabi?
Yes, I did. Okay. Because I got distracted. Hammurabi with $5. Scrump, in your last stream, you mentioned you could have 100 streams about World War II propaganda. Your audience would actually be interested in that.
We're probably going to have one at some point. I don't want to announce anything because it took us ages to get that Forever War stream done because of just live stuff. But I'm thinking of doing like a series of streams that goes from like the turn of the century, First World War, into war, Second World War, and then post-war, kind of showing the birth of the post-war consensus. Because
that would be interesting, actually.
I've been quietly talking to Dev and people like Sargon about like a lot of stuff that is kind of just an affectation of post-war consensus thinking, that people think reality can't be different than the way it's been from the 1950s onwards.
However, put one in the chat if you think a better idea is the process of democratization. Just saying.
Well, yeah, but that's a more difficult thing to explain. But yeah, I think we're going to do more history streams. I think because people have really enjoyed those, and there's a lot of breadth to talk about there. But yeah, that's all I'll say.
That does sound really interesting. Actually, I would watch that. Also, there's Frederic with the 20 SEK. Mommy Tulsi for 2024.
Oh no, mommy president!
Yikes!
Well, at least it's not Momala.
Military milkers, yes.
Momala. I think Tulsi's just kind of almost a bit black-pilled on big party politics anyway at this point.
We need a Tulsi Abigail Shapiro ticket.
Kaczynski 2024.
Oof. Who would be his running mate?
No one. No one else is needed.
It's
just Ted Kaczynski.
It's just Ted Kaczynski in an open letter.
Yeah.
Maybe the cabin.
Because no one would send him a ballot. They know they might get one back.
Cammy's return.
She's on my lap.
Glimpse of cats.
She's not going for my finger.
So we have to counter the Fed posting or the Ted posting with Kitty.
Yeah, it'll do the YouTube algorithm some good.
I don't know.
She's now decided to go for my microphone.
You are being eaten
by a little kitten. Aren't you? You're getting up to mischief.
Oh, but yeah, we're getting sidetracked to the Putin stuff.
The Putin stuff. I just faced Putin.
I mean, the thing is, comparatively, they make him look like that. The pettiness and incompetence of Western leaders makes Putin look like a Chad. He kind of isn't. He's also got his own problems. He's also beholden to his own kind of masters as well. If you look at the oligarchy in Russia and all those people who still very much carry the money, and carried stuff like Gazprom and all the big figures in charge of each big industry. But like I said, comparatively, Joe looks like a joke. He looks incredibly weak, and people keep pointing that out.
He did give Abramovich the finger, but that was worth it.
Yeah, so Biden, like, after being told about how, there's no election fraud going on, it's all an alt-right conspiracy, you got to accept the results of the election 100%, no questioning. Oh, but also Biden's allowed to accuse Russia of meddling in the election again. Like, they're allowed to bring out that old chestnut. You have your safe conspiracies, and then you have your dangerous alt-right conspiracies. And so it's fine for the Democrats to continuously push out, well, the reason why Trump got so many votes, it must be Russia. It must be Russia.
Yeah, the disparity there between past elections is, well, it must be Russia.
Yeah, it just seems to, it really, I mean, it's really a kind of thing that the centre left love to lean on. It's just Russia.
I don't think
Brexit, Russia.
A lot of time, though. Like, I don't think they even believe it themselves.
Oh, no, I don't think they believe it at all. But it just gets, at least the people who push it, the people who really push it, but that narrative definitely kind of winds up into, like, almost like normie spaces. Like, I remember at work, whenever people would talk about Trump, they would, like, a lot of times they would say, oh, his mate Putin, he wouldn't have won if it weren't for Putin. It's like, no.
I don't know. A lot of those people, they're either, like, borderline retarded, or they're doing performative acceptable speech. I think a lot of people just these days, they say what they think they're supposed to say, and sometimes when people talk about politics, I see fear in their eyes.
Well, it's over socialization again, another TED number to pull out, but it's, you can't view the whole situation without just absorbing everyone else's narrative about it and living through that. There's no other way to see it as far as they're concerned.
I'm just going to quickly nip it off for a minute, just to get a drink. So I'll be back in a sec.
Aha! Yes, we have the airwaves now.
Dangerous.
Getting a bit of a dry throat. To be fair, I sympathise. This is why we got large mugs of tea before this whole thing started. But yeah, you're right. It is. It's a case of that. Like, a lot of what they say is like pleasantries, and it's like pleasantries they think they're expected of them, rather than actually conversing in a meaningful way. Like I said, you can just kind of, I don't know. I used to think I wasn't tuned in to like people's body language and what they were thinking and saying, but then I started to realize I was probably just too tuned into it.
Because there was actually nothing to it, because they're just a hollow shell reverberating everyone else's opinions.
Or they're saying not what they're thinking, or they're thinking something different from what they're saying, or their body language is saying something completely different to what they're actually saying, which is, I don't know, you get into a lot of people talk about being in heightened states and seeing that. I just see it all the time. That's why I don't like people weird me the fuck out, because of like
watching someone go through cognitive dissonance is like a stressful experience.
I don't know, watching people do like performative actions as well. It's like, why are you doing that?
Cringe.
It's just like it's like watching someone like malfunction and perform some sort of like action that's being radioed to them. You start to realize why people like want to put tinfoil hats on their head to keep in their thoughts, because everyone else looks like a fucking radio controlled toy sometimes. But that's just me and my my weird cognitive filtering of the world. I do have a lot of things wrong with me.
I'm just back from hydrating. Stay hydrated, y'all.
Like I said, the tea will save us.
But then this isn't. So like again, like Biden wasn't just Biden and Putin. I think a more telling incident was between Biden and the Chinese.
Yes. When
the
he
Chinese.
Was well, we'll probably talk about Boris at some point in the stream, but he's at another Chinesium moment himself. It's his reaction to China was expected, but still shit.
So yeah, Biden's God damn it, just hit a bit of bloody mental block again. Sorry, I'm trying to get my train of thought. God damn it, I hate it when this happens.
It's the thinking music.
I'm not the best at public speaking.
It's a bit of a piss take, though, Biden going to meet China, as if we don't all know they're in, or he's in their pocket anyway. I mean, that's what his entire vice presidency was about, was just going and having secret meetings with Xi Jinping every other weekend.
Yeah, and of course his son, of which we're not really allowed to talk about all that much.
The Hunter Biden thing seems to have disappeared beneath the waves.
Yeah,
even though
it was never much. It was never much of a news story. Let's be honest. Like,
I've just seen some of the stuff in the article. Chinese officials responded by accusing the US counterparts of hypocrisy on human rights and said black people are being slaughtered in America. They'd never be that based.
I'm going to say, the thing is in China is they were putting up signs in McDonald's saying to bin fucking black people, and the black people were responsible for COVID in China.
Yeah, well, yes, there were plenty of videos that I saw. I think it must have been around like May of last year, where there'd be department stores that would specifically exclude black people from entering. Like, it wasn't like you normally would expect it to be like maybe just open to Chinese nationals. I mean, China is an incredibly nationalistic country, and there are usually like two tiers of people there, which is just Chinese nationals and everyone else.
Well, there's three tiers: Chinese nationals, everyone else, and Communist Party members.
Yeah, there's also there's an interesting thing to that. It's a bit of a tangent, but we think of China as a heavily communist nation, yet they have the ability to discriminate on their own property on the grounds of race, which is a freedom we don't actually have in the UK anymore. So just consider some things.
I don't know. It's this weird. China's this weird mix of like state capitalism, but without the modern American version of the Western version of the civil rights movement.
Yeah.
A lot of our thinking about China is filtered through what we know and what we've experienced in the post-war West, rather than realizing what China is actually like.
Yeah, it would be based neo-feudalism if it wasn't for the fact they had no culture whatsoever other than consumerism.
Oh, in China?
Well, yeah, that's what the Great Leap Forward and all. Well, it's based
I would say that. Yeah, the point. Well, no, that's the Cultural Revolution. The Great Leap Forward was to bring in.
The Cultural Revolution and all the Maoism stuff was really kind of it was almost like a Khmer Rouge style Year Zero.
It was.
Their culture existed anymore.
Yeah, well, because they would basically go through like real intense periods, sometimes lasting for months, where you would kind of get like what do they call themselves? Like the Red Army or something? Red Guard, that's it. Which were mostly students who would they would do their own show trials, usually of like their teachers or professors at universities.
Sessions, yes.
Student death squad.
Oh yeah, they would they regularly beat people up, and there would be no kind of repercussions on these mobs. They weren't necessarily kind of ordered to do so by the CCP themselves. These were activists who took it upon themselves to do it. But the
revolutionaries, comrade.
Well, yeah, I mean, it was the next stage of the revolution, and there's definitely encouraged by the CCP, even if they didn't outright order it, but they made that kind of environment where people were, young people were willing to destroy cultural artifacts. Basically kind of raise what China actually was to the ground in a lot of places. Like the amount of history that had been lost in just, a period of several years we're talking about. There's almost a bit of almost like a mirror to a lot of what's kind of going on nowadays with modern cancel culture, where you have mobs of a lot of them young people wanting to tear down statues, get publications banned, get people removed from their jobs, have them tried in the court of public opinion, which is entirely dictated by them. They want to be able to have a say in effectively, or the only say, it should be clear, the only say in how our culture should be going forward. Our old culture is bad. It is embarrassing. It is oppressive. It is imperialistic. We need to raise this to the ground and build up a new culture based on, just so happens to be based on the ideals that these people follow, which might not necessarily be shared by everyone, but they're right. They're completely right. So we have to follow everything which they say. I honestly, I think a lot when it comes to like the history of socialism in the 20th century, so many people are fixated on the Soviet Union that I think that there are definitely things from the Soviet Union that people need to pay attention to, such as the Holodomor. But Mao Mao, I think, did put a lot more of these people's ideals into practice. And I'm talking specifically about...
That's partially true, because Mao, at the end of the day, actually wasn't really that interested in communism. He wasn't an ideologue. He was a pure Machiavellian. He was an entirely political actor. He almost,
yes.
That's the reason why it kind of fell down to some extent, is he believed in nothing at the end of it. And it's the same then obviously plays forth on all the people in China who have to be forced through the revolution. At the end of it, they've got nothing left to believe in, because the individual, creating this movement was only ever self-interested. And that's the only way you ever can be about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, he modeled himself a lot on Stalin. Like, yes. Stalin was a huge idol for him, and Mao was in quite a strange position in which, under Stalin looked down on Mao. Like, to Stalin, Mao was he was really kind of like just an idiot peasant who just so happened to like fall into becoming like, yes, a communist leader, but China was still like a backwards third world country, even more so than Russia was.
Potato ranks slightly higher than rice.
I'm going to say it's a case of also that like the Russians also basically just consider the Chinese racially inferior, as according to their Soviet science, but people seem to just forget that whole thing in Russia.
But then things flipped when Khrushchev took over, because Mao didn't respect Khrushchev at all, and that was one of the kind of like the motivators behind the Great Leap Forward, because Mao wanted China to effectively become the leaders of worldwide socialism, to take the place of the Soviet Union, which he saw as an abject failure at that point. Only the Chinese can go forward.
Khrushchev was after the Great Leap Forward, was he not?
No, he was beforehand. Stalin died around 1955.
Fair enough.
I think we're getting our timelines mixed up here. We're getting back to Biden and China. I think Biden, he's projecting such an air of weakness. Again, both with his dealings with Russia and China. I guess he's giving off an air of deference to China in certain aspects as well, and a weird petulance in others. He doesn't come across like almost like a Nixon-esque madman like Trump did. In kind of it's just the only way you can really deal with China. Like, Nixon scared the shit out of Asia. He thought he was gonna nuke them, and that's really worked in his favor. Same with Trump. Trump was an unpredictable actor, and that got him into a lot of places because they just didn't know what he would do. But Biden sat there in his like DC green zone. We still have National Guard sleeping on the ground.
The imposed president.
Hey, we still have what looks like a banana republic dictatorship with several layers of barbed wire and troops. He's still imposing his essentially information warfare on the people as well, with post-election trying to lock down everything. And he just looks like the failed puppet of a dying nation. Like, it's just, I can't think, even the most ardent like Biden supporter must at least have an inkling of the decay at the heart of what has been posed there, because it is just so obvious. I can only imagine how like moronic it looks to like the leaders of China and Russia, and just how ridiculously weak Biden looks.
There's a bit of ironically a Sun Tzu thing to appear weak when you are strong, because let's face it, I mean, Biden is still chief of the world police. Whether or not he's actually the guy pulling the trigger or not, he's at least the PR man.
He is effectively the face of it. Like, I'm not convinced that he's the one calling all the shots, but yeah, you're probably right there.
He's the CGI face of it, yes.
Before we move on from Biden, because we've been talking about him quite a lot, I just found this quite funny picture on Twitter of one of the people in Biden's delegation to the CCP summit with purple hair, because the Biden administration is all about having women and like minorities of all sorts in positions, regardless of their competency. It's most important that we get that diversity there, and you don't get much more diverse than having blue hairs at like really important political events.
The thing is, again, it's like he probably yelled at him because he realized just that the Chinese were just laughing at them because they brought this fucking blue-haired woman to a summit, And that's probably why he was yelling at them, because when you're doing actual proper dealings with people who don't give a shit about, I don't know, what the Chinese have a word for basically Western culture war bullshit.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it is though, but they just regard it as that. They see it as a joke, and they see it as basically us falling for propaganda. Like they are openly laughing at the fact that we've fallen for the Marxist bullshit. But yeah, we should probably move on. I've got to be.
Yeah.
We've got to be pretty much done by.
Baizu.
That's it.
Baizu, that's it.
Baizu is what you mean. So I just got a few super chats coming out. Well, a few more super chats rather. Well, one more super chat rather. Hamster Abbey with the $5. You think that the establishment is co-opting the left and cancel culture in an attempt to stay in power? Yes.
Yeah, and anyone that's not worked out yet is wrong.
Yeah. It's why I find it really funny when you see the kind of the bread tubers or the people on the lean on the left. I know that Vosh has said it, and I think I've seen Chris Reagan say it as well. You know, they voted for Biden, but they're not necessarily Biden supporters. No, they just want to bully him. Because they all use that. Because I mean, BreadTube love using phrases like bully, because like they really want to put out the image, you know, like they're hard and they're the tough bullies. They'll bully everyone, when really they would probably just wet themselves and toddle off to their mummies.
Big, strong, scary trots. They've never been squished before.
But they use these phrases like bully, but they're not in a position to bully anyone at all. Like, you know, do you really think that Biden is going to change on his policy because Vosh as you know, is like, you best not, you best do this? Like, what the fuck is Vosh gonna do?
These are the same people though who like got on their knees and basically begged bloody murder for their $2,000 or their extra $400 or whatever it is they're whinging about. Gotta get that stemmy.
I don't think outside of a niche political field, like if people think Sargons are relevant, wait until you see the actual real world impact of something like BreadTube. Like, nobody knows what the fuck it is.
No,
outside of like very niche internet circles. Like
I have not met anyone who knows what BreadTube.
I don't know why people really discuss it. Honestly, I get kind of frustrated when I see mass discussion about it because they don't fucking matter. They are either so far into the propaganda that they are just useless, or they are quite literally like the archetypal mental midget that has the IQ of an abs. Like if you are either playing along with the crowd and trying to get money, or you are like cognitively, like literally cognitively impaired. And that's really the two types of people you find there. I think with the way reality is, you can't hold those opinions seriously and not be someone who has a functioning brain.
IRL retards as opposed to just online.
Yeah, like not like colloquially retarded. Like actually, like what is physically wrong with your brain, dear? I think a lot of these people seem to be, because you see them on their private accounts crying about their home situations or their medical situations, and you realize that they are just incredibly damaged and really don't have any other way to express it apart from being an online communist. I don't know. That whole side of YouTube makes me very, very sad.
The only reason
people.
The only reason I really know about Vosh is because of all the pedo stuff.
Well, yeah, it's like I keep saying, the left are pedophiles, and where they're not pedophiles, they're performative, and they're just doing the bidding of a group of people who we can prove through no uncertain terms are abusing children. Like there's a lot of evidence out there.
The only ethical response to ethical CP is a 6 foot length of rope.
it's the only
ethical rope for ethical
an ethical 10 gauge,
an ethical hanging.
Oh dear.
So let's move away from Biden. Let's bring back some of our really good friends.
The seals of news. We might have to expedite a couple of these topics, but yes.
So we might have to do some speedy seals. So Duncan, would you like to pick a seal? So we got Milo, we got Protest, and we got a great British seal.
I'm spoiled for choice. Part of me wants to say Milo for the memes, but the Protest because it's probably worth talking about.
Yeah, so this is what we started talking about the other day, until I kind of went a little bit funny.
You ran out of rose gas is what happened.
Energy crystals depleted.
We need to plug you back in and replenish your rose gas supplies.
So so this is important to talk about, because what we touched on it in the secret stream.
We'll have to zoom in a little bit out. So the Guardian's formatting for high def monitors is awful. They've obviously over like optimized for mobile, and so I can't fucking read that.
I've zoomed in, but now I need to.
But yeah. There we go. That's a bit better. Good lord, the Guardian's a piece of shit.
Yeah. So effectively, what they're trying to bring this bill on the back of is things like specifically Extinction Rebellion, I believe, because they've been talking about this for a while, since 2019, when you had them stopping tube trains at like 5:30 in the morning. The irony being like these Extinction Rebellion protesters were never actually from those areas of London. They would travel in from, the more affluent areas. I remember.
Well, let's not forget they didn't travel; they were bussed in.
Yeah, they were bussed.
Yeah, okay, they were bussed in.
And a lot of the NGOs that give money to people like Extinction Rebellion also get a lot of money from the government. And I seem to remember earlier in the protest, the government also pledging money that some of it ended up in the pockets of Extinction Rebellion. So let's not pretend this isn't the state performatively attacking the state here. But anyway,
but it's kind of done under that image, because there was a lot of people who were getting frustrated, and so the government thought like, what we can do is we can bring out this bill, which basically means that the police can break up a protest or even arrest people, offer tougher sentencing for things that are causing like a severe disruption, which whether you like or agree with a protest or not, protests generally do disrupt things. It's it's not really much of a protest if you have to follow every single guideline that the state gives you. You have to stand over here. You can only shout at a particular volume. Don't go any louder. Don't go all the way over here, or else we'll kettle you. As part of a free society, I don't care about the reasons why people are protesting. They can be doing it for whatever cause they want. One of the things which has really frustrated me throughout lockdown is the way in which the police have been handling protests, especially last year when they effectively gave a free pass to Black Lives Matter, but then when it was I don't know how to frame it without sounding like I might be buying into media propaganda, the anti-BLM protest. I don't really know what to call that one. But that one, they acted incredibly heavy-handed in. You look at the sentencing differences between the woman who tried to set the flag on the cenotaph on fire, or the people who
protest against a cultural revolution. To be fair,
well, yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you had North FC come down, which was proper.
Where are the sort of revolutionaries in that aspect, though? Because the BLM, much like Extinction Rebellion, and much like the sort of
again NGO money,
Sarah Everard thing that's going on just now. These are all these sort of quote unquote extremist positions, so that at some point the establishment can come to a compromise that they wanted anyway.
It does feel like that this is a planned solution to a bunch of problems that they have imagined for themselves and put in the media narrative. I'm sure we'll probably move on to some of the Sarah Everard stuff in a minute after this. But that's the same as well. I will say what I said during the migraine stream, that all of this really is the fact that under COVID rules, all protests are state-sanctioned protests that are allowed to happen.
Yeah.
And that there is, by default now, no right to protest, not even the illusion of right to protest. And every single march you see that is not thrown into a van by the police is being allowed to happen.
Yeah, because between this, the criminal human intelligence sources thing, and then anyone that hasn't already looked up, go look up the attributes section on HMGov's website about digital identities. You no longer have any natural rights. You only have privileges now, and it is a sort of hegemonic set of rights. So there's none of these that you grant unto yourself anymore.
So let's just quickly touch on Sarah Everard. So as I mentioned in the Lost Stream, so that's what I'm going to call it from now on. The Lost Stream. The Lost Stream. This is something which has actually been kind of out for the last week, where basically the right to protest itself hasn't really been suspended as such. Let me bring. So someone on Twitter actually kind of made a good point on this. Let me just kind of highlight it here. So protest has not been banned in total. There's a judgment of Mr. Justice Holgate in the Reclaim the Streets case from last Friday. Should be published this afternoon, which I believe is what it's referring to. In
might require a tiny bit of zoom here.
There you go.
There we go. That's much better.
Yeah. So, you got Sadiq Khan, or like basically there's supposed to be more protests in London tomorrow. I don't know whether these are more Sarah Everard protests or whether it is anti-lockdown. The way in which
I'm only now seeing that there's this thing that seems to be called Reclaim These Streets. It might just be the sort of next movement. Who knows what they want after banning misogyny?
Like I said, it does seem, the whole misogyny, hate crime. Like I said, this is, again, we're going into the Savile Everard thing, not to get ahead of ourselves, but there's been a massive outpouring from media and state actors and NGOs for this whole, the murder that was done by an off-duty police officer. And by the way, their response to it was to put more plainclothes officers in pubs and clubs, they said, which seems like a deliberate slap in the face because that's who killed Sarah Everard. But that's kind of beside.
They're also going to have more of them stalking the streets in trench coats at the middle of the night. That'll make everyone feel safe.
But it's a case of there's massive media lockstep in that this is another special murder. I will start calling them. It's another special murder. And like I said, again, like I put on Minds, that Sarah Everard is just Joe Cox for feminists who smell like cat piss. That's what it is. It's a feminist Joe Cox. It's a person died, therefore you can't hold belief. It's a very manufactured case of that. Whether it is, a lot of people talks about the murder of Joe Cox, and there's a lot of conspiracy theories about it. Whether or not any of them are true, it is a murder that was taken by the government and used as a cudgel against people who wanted to vote for Brexit. And this is now a murder that's been taken and being used as a cudgel again to talk about the whole Reclaim the Streets, misogyny, hate crime, men and women thing.
I mean, the misunderstanding people have about false flags, it's not necessarily that the event is fake, it's that the narrative around the event is fake.
Yeah.
And you need to understand the difference between the two.
I mean, we had the Sarah Everard protest. It wasn't, a lot of people spin it as a vigil. It might have started like that, but by the end of it, it was 100% a protest.
There's also just a sort of ridiculous notion. It's like, as I said, the response is to implement more police and then ban misogyny, as if the reason why the police officer killed Sarah Everett is because he thought, women aren't as good at working or they can't park cars or something. There's probably a bit more to it than that.
Well, like you said last year, a lot of people are accusing some of the Sarah Everard protesters of being crisis actors because they're professional activists. But I don't know. I basically consider I was about to say that Extinction Rebellion are basically crisis actors because they are professional activists. And it is another example of professional activists who are paid by NGOs, and those NGOs are paid by the government. So these are essentially government employees. If you look at where the money actually comes from, it's the same thing with shit like mermaids. Again, they got big government checks, and they are essentially government agents at that point. And you have to look at it in that framing, that this was an event that was allowed to happen to be used as pretext and to come into lockstep with the policing bill. It's all too convenient.
Yeah.
The only way to see that is it was either ridiculous serendipity or it was planned in some way.
Yeah, it just so happens to be a big coincidence that this, after everything which happened on Saturday, now they're making misogyny a hate crime. Well, that's coincidental, isn't it? They had an event where they thrust that narrative into the spotlight. Oh, it just so happens to be that they're doing something about this. Oh, golly gee. I mean, I find the idea of misogyny being. I mean, a lot of the problem with kind of hate crimes is that they're so open to interpretation. We saw this with Dank.
Trans women a crime. Like,
what the fuck? Yeah. I mean, like one interesting thing is if you take a Radfem narrative on it. One of the most misogynistic things you can say is trans women are women, right? I've seen this a lot from the gender critical side. It is saying a trans woman is a woman is a misogynistic statement according to them. So they have their definition of what it is to be a misogynist. If you hold that position, if you think a biological male is capable of being a woman, then that is misogyny to them. Now, will the police, will the courts treat it as such? Because they've said that misogyny itself is a hate crime. Are they going to actually go into more specifics on this is what you're allowed to say, this is what you want? And honestly, that trans women or women thing would be fascinating, because then they would have to effectively pick between two different groups from the Oppression Olympics. But then we know which group would win out in the end.
Do we, though? Because...
Well, yes, it would be trans, 100%.
No, let's be honest. The LGBT movement, as someone said quite a while ago, is not something that the establishment really cares about. They will throw us all under the bus at the first moment it becomes convenient. Maybe it'll be now, maybe it'll be next week, I don't know when, but I'm not really willing to bank on the fact that they actually care that much about faggots.
Well, I'm not saying that they care. I'm not saying that they care. I'm saying that's where the political and social clout is right now. But it's with the trans activists, and not with the gender critical side.
They can only draw on that for so long, though, before it does actually become rejected. I think it is, especially on the trans stuff, is actually starting to become a bit of an ineffective policy. I think there's enough people who have seen enough things to just entirely reject it.
I mean, I do believe in time that will happen, but I kind of predict that it will be quite a slow turn, and then by the time people realize it's on a downward trajectory, it'll be too late. And it could well be something like legislating that saying that trans women or women like disagreeing with that statement is now like effectively a hate crime.
We'll see what happens.
That's the kind of thing which could turn it.
I'm going to say, we'll see what happens, because it's amazing how quickly someone like Macron seemingly turned on a dime on the Muslims. I think as shit keeps getting worse and people keep getting unhappy here in the UK, they're going to have to find some kind of internal scapegoat. It's going to be, we're going to find out what that is at some point, because like I said, things are accelerating. But if you look at the overarching stuff that's happened here, both with the crime bill, the Sarah Everard stuff, the vigil, all of it really is just thing happen, expand state and police power. All of it has been, well, misogyny is now a hate crime, therefore there's more things you can be arrested under. The crime bill is supposedly aimed at the destruction that Black Lives Matter wrought, essentially, again, government NGO, but it really seems targeted at the coming mass COVID protests as they move the goalpost towards 2022, as many reports are doing now. That is really the target of all of this. It's a grand game of misdirection, and you're right. It's all soap opera. It's just all fiction at this point. This is we are on several layers of narrative. This is unreality we are seeing play out before us. It's a show. It's a song and a dance, and it really all it does is obfuscate what's really happening, which is mass expansion of not only unspoken government power, but spoken government power. They are now openly saying that they will arrest you for any reason. Like the human intelligence sources, I can never say the full thing, and the crime bill together are basically a giant fuck you to anyone who's read them.
Well, that is how we get gulagged, is through those laws. And the fact that like the one in the protest bill was even on the level of one-person protests. I'm a walking one-person protest. I've just become an illegal entity.
It reminds me of the 90s rave laws, which defined a rave as two or more people listening to repetitive music. A protest is now defined as one or more person, and a protest that could land you with 10 years in prison is now defined as one person causing the risk of annoyance or inconvenience.
Yeah.
So, like I said,
which is literally every single protest.
Yeah, it is. It's you. It just boils down to the fact that you can be arrested at any point. The police no longer need warrants to enter people's homes because of COVID legislation. There is no, like I said, well, technically protest hasn't been blanket banned, but it has been effectively banned. It's like the way they took away the tax stamp for marijuana in the US. It wasn't federally illegal at that point. It wasn't scheduled as it is now, but it was effectively banned. And that's how you know the effect of the law is the reality of the law. And the reality of the law is you can't protest unless the government endorses your protest.
I mean, it doesn't matter even if it's written down on a piece of paper or not. What matters is what are the immediate consequences of doing so. If the immediate consequences of holding a protest is that the police are going to come and slam you into the ground and have you arrested, basically have that kind of charges put on you, it doesn't really matter what the law is saying at that point, whether it's legally wrong. I mean, you're still being impacted by it. Even if eventually the charges are dropped and you can just go back outside, you were still stopped from doing that protest.
It's also sort of a bit of a fear tactic, really, because there's been no new protest laws introduced in Scotland. But as I said on the stream earlier in the week, there are people being grabbed outside of Hollywood because they do they do 2 protests a month, and they're being half a dozen people grabbed every time for doing essentially nothing other than walking about with a banner. You know, there's, as far as I'm aware, there's no violence at any of these, and I've been there and I've met some of the organisers, and they're not interested in doing anything like that. They just want to show up, tell them to basically get fucked, and then I'll go home a couple hours later. But they seem to just be getting arrested over and over again. Yeah. So it's the bill in and of itself isn't going to change policing. We know what's going to happen. Lockdown protests will be, the protesters for that will be grabbed as soon as possible. It's now just showing the fact that they are actively doing it. It's making you aware of it, so that if you're someone on the fringes, you will not question it anymore. You might have thought of going to an anti-lockdown protest a couple of weeks ago, but now with this, you might consider it.
I mean, I've already next time that if they ever. The difficulty where I live at the moment is it's quite difficult to get into London, which is where the anti-lockdown protests are going to be. But I do
actually a lot of local ones. If you have a look on Facebook groups, there's a lot more people out there doing it than you would really think, and it's been suppressed rather heavily. I mean, some of the work I managed to do with a few people we ended up having in the space of a couple of months in a rather sparse area of Scotland, 3,000 people in a group all willing to organise and do something. So it's it's not out of the realms of possibility.
In that case, I'm going to keep a lookout for ones in my local area. It's just been quite hard to really find any. You just never hear about them. You hear about the big ones in London. That's more just because people will share it on social media and call them COVIDiots. Otherwise, I've heard of a couple back from near where I lived in Wales. There was one in Llandudno, which I only knew about because a local newspaper from there reported it with the angle of, oh, look at these COVIDiots standing by the beach.
I would actually recommend, it's probably one of the most effective things you could do currently for the situation we're in, is that all the people watching essentially have a look on your local sort of Facebook area for anti-lockdown groups and connect with these people before it is literally too late. Because some of these people might be your last lines of defence at some point. So you better know them now before, you can't.
Yeah, I'm going to actually have a look. I'm just going to type in my local area on Facebook. Let me just see.
But yeah, while you're doing that, I'll repeat my point that all of this, the supposed issues involved, the supposed protests involved, all of it is window dressing. It is window dressing to distract you from the fact that, like I said, there is mass expansion of police and state power going on that is now not only overt, but like you said, it's meant to discourage protest. It is openly hostile, openly authoritarian, because they're able to be open about it now. It's people have been saying this for a year, and they're now able to come out and say, we have introduced these bills that effectively means that we have destroyed the right to protest. And we haven't just done it effectively like we did with the 2-meter rule and the COVID rule, we've done it explicitly. And it's the explicitness which is the next step.
And I found it interesting the way in which the left has reacted to this as well. I mean, the amount of posts which I've seen say, "Oh, you don't hear the right criticising all of this because the Tories are bringing in a lot of these policies. You're not hearing the right talk about it." I've at least the right has been more consistent with these issues than the left. The left only cares because it's now impacting them.
I would entirely suggest that was the case. I mean, a lot of the communication I've seen on the right about the lockdown has mainly been reasoning the way out of it, as opposed to just rejecting the thing at its very face and just suggesting that it is wrong and that there should be no need to justify why it is wrong. I mean, we have to take almost a hegemonic position on this and say that, you know, there is the validity of the fact that it is wrong, or you are someone who is against us. And it needs to be that real sort of Carl Schmitt enemy-friend distinction thing, which people just don't want to apply, because then they have to admit the fact that there are people on the other side of politics who actually want them dead, not just want to take a bit of tax off them.
You're sounding like me during the Undoom stream.
Just they want you dead. They want you dead in a good
I was like, no, I'm not moving on this position.
It's true.
No, it's entirely right, though. And the more people on the right wing say it, the more we can actually accrue any sort of power. We have to make ourselves look like a genuine threat to these people in their order. Otherwise, it's just a waste of time. I mean, the people who sit and debate the stats, or they try and dunk on the EU because their vaccine policy isn't good, you're essentially fully accepting the lockdown thing, because you're assuming that it can be just debated rationally when it was never a rational thing in the first place. There was never a rational argument delivered to us when it was imposed. It was just for the good of us, good of our health.
Well, it's just to protect it. Well, it wasn't even for the good of our health. It was good for the good of the NHS. The NHS was the key thing. You know, we are sacrificing, you know, our own physical and mental health, our businesses, our relationships, general society. All of this has been sacrificed, at least in name, to the NHS.
Are we going to have to do the whole nurses are agents of the state thing again?
Yes.
I can't, as someone who's been on the sharp end, let's say, of the NHS multiple times of massive medical incompetence, I have no sympathy for basically anyone within that structure, apart from those who are like anyone who's not aware of it. Anyone who would unironically clap for the NHS is almost beyond saving at this point. I don't get how you can submit to the niceties of power in that way, but I don't know. Maybe there's just a lot of people who haven't really thought their positions through. But
all nurses are bastards.
But what was that be? ANAB.
All doctors too.
But it is a case of that the NHS really is, again, it is an extension of state power, and they have people who are effectively worshipping it. It's incredibly fucking creepy.
So do you have anything else to add on the protest before we move on to our next seal?
Oh no. We should probably expedite this slightly.
Yeah. So let's bring back the seals of news. The seals of news. So we have two seals left. We have the Milo seal and the British seal.
I think these are both going to be relatively quick topics. I don't know. What do you think, Rose? The Milo seal?
I think the British.
I will do Milo
British
last.
seal. We'll do Milo last. So we'll start off with the British seal. So that's not it.
No, that's the Biden falling down the stairs meme from a very. Oh god, that's such an inside reference. It's like that's like early 2000s webcomic reference, and like either you think that's really funny or you don't get it. I think it's kind of like me making my.
It's like Myers Twitter.
It's like fingerbox memes.
Hella Trump.
Sweet Joe and hella Trump. Yeah, I told you about the stairs, bro.
Anyway, let's focus on the British seal. So there he is.
How British? Oh, there he is.
Free Bentos.
He's got his calling.
He's got his calling. He's got his flag.
Is he getting a packet of fences and hedges in his back pocket?
This is the Brexit seal that I made for Brexit Day. British fibs for British seals.
Is this the story about the flag in the background of some kind of Zoom call or something? I'm having trouble getting my head. Yeah, okay, I thought it was. That was really baffling.
Yeah. So this is kind of a quick one, but it just kind of raises a good point about the BBC. So basically, the culture secretary was interviewed by the BBC, and the presenters basically mocked him for having the Union flag in the background, as well as a picture of the Queen. They they kind of looked down their nose at it, you know, like, how dare you have, you know, these, who do you think they are with these British symbols, you know, like, how outdated.
Well,
and
I'll be honest, I've not seen the clip, but to take our sort of thing we were talking about earlier on, it just seems to me that something that could, you know, it's just ritual humiliation once again. Oh, who would like the Union Jack in Britain? Yeah. What a an old passé idea. I bet you the culture minister was actually in on it.
It's like unironic fucking British people have no culture shit.
Yeah.
It's unironic laughing at any level of national pride or patriotism. Again, like I said, these people are like post-cultural revolutionaries almost. They have won, they know they have won, and they are celebrating the fact that they have won by laughing at you. That's what this is.
Meanwhile, their psyche is so fucked that they think it's cringe not to be a nihilist.
And this is where, like, why I compare a lot of what's going on now, at least at a lower degree than the actual cultural revolution itself. But the way in which they've been able to manipulate things, and it's usually through sheer terror, whether it's basically by just being mocked or being accused of being a racist or anything like that, which your average person is quite scared of. Like, they don't really want to be mocked just for having a love of their country. That kind of thing doesn't really sit right with a lot of people. And I think a lot of this really kind of became news because it just kind of showed the sneering, kind of like the Islington elite, you know, like the North London elite, as it were. The
lack of real toothy pushback from the incredibly moist Tory party, I think, is something that really feel like you think the Conservative Party, with the majority that they have, first of all, wouldn't have imposed the lockdown shit that they have, but I guess that's kind of par for the course. But you at least think they have some sort of muscular defense for a degree of at least mild national pride and national.
The Tories, I think, have absolutely no backbone and no real.
They're not wet. They're just all water at this point.
No, they want power and they want to remain in power, and they will do whatever is required.
Exactly. They have absolutely no specific moral that they can stick to. When you think about the Conservative Party and, you know, the principles that they stand for, outside of attaining power at whatever cost, what do they actually stand for?
Nothing.
I would laugh at a UK minister attempting to have the dressings of patriotism as they quite literally piss on people's rights.
Well, yeah, that's why I suggested that. Even though I've not seen this, I'm willing to bet that the Culture Secretary's in on it, because it is that, you know, we have come that full circle that, like, they need to be that Machiavellian with their actions, otherwise they'll just never stay in there.
But what became quite interesting with this is afterwards, one of the presenters liked tweets basically about flag shaggers or something, basically kind of mocking British patriotism. She was then made to apologize for doing so, like for liking those tweets, because, you know, because that does go against BBC impartiality rules. But it does actually kind of extend a little bit outwards. So Hugh Edwards, he's Welsh. He's proper Welsh. But he was told he had a pro-Welsh flag tweet. A pro-Welsh flag tweet that he was told to take down by the BBC, which seems really, you know, which just seems incredibly strange, and that the BBC is now telling people, like, don't even have any kind of national pride in, like, your own country's flag.
Well, it's like a further level of degeneration. There is no longer faith in something higher or spiritual. It's faith in just an institution and something as boring and as mundane and clandestine as the BBC.
Yeah, it's not do what you can for Britain, really. There has been a lot of the rhetoric and the whole spirit of the Blitz thing I commented on a couple of times previously. It hasn't really been focused on national unity. It's been focused on deference to institution, which has been one of the biggest shifts in the whole fake spirit of the Blitz thing, in that it's not do your bit for Britain, it's save the NHS. It's not country, it's institution. And that's the level we've kind of degenerated to here. It's not do what you can for your neighbour, it's report on your neighbour and save an institution. That's the real shift in rhetoric we found here. And it's somehow even worse than wartime propaganda. they've somehow managed to twist it even further and make it even worse than even like the World War II level propaganda that they're aping did. It is just, it's a case of, I don't know, a lot of it's all performative, and you get stuck in the detail. It's not really the fact that they were sneering at a Union Jack, is it the fact that the BBC is riddled with pedophiles that enabled people like Jimmy Savile once again, and you have to remember that.
Gary Glitter
actively engages in gaslighting to make sure that the people that are, aimed against it are shown to be a small minority, when actually, the very sort of question you've got up there, why the UK flag is sometimes considered a controversial symbol. No one thinks that. No. 10 university lecturers think that, and they're all dicks. Yeah. No one cares what they say. Whereas, that is somehow now the narrative.
Yeah, and that's the way in which Twitter has framed it as well. It isn't some people consider it controversial. It's just even the way that sentence is structured, why it is considered is sometimes considered controversial, as though like it's factual that yes, and it is controversial when it's our nation's flag. And again, go back to the Cultural Revolution, that it's an attack on our national identity. We need to it's St. George's Cross is problematic. You've had like Labour MPs criticising it for years. It's known in some areas of the UK that Labour canvassers will actually not like purposely go out of their way to avoid houses which have Union Jacks or St. George's Cross, because they associate it with hardcore nationalism. When a lot of people love the Union Jack. I think I genuinely think it's one of the nicest flags in the world. Like I think it's a really nice looking flag. I mean, my favorite flag in the world is still the Welsh flag because it has a dragon on it. Like, you don't get much more badass than that. And I don't give a shit about Somalia.
You could be Lebanon and have a fucking tree. Let's be fair.
No, but that's very close to the Appeal to Heaven flag, so it's kind of based.
Oh dear. Anyway, it's a case of that. This is again, it's low level controversy, but it comes from a mindset. You really have to keep in mind the type of people who run the BBC and the type of people they hire to present on the BBC. Which, like, again, I'm not shifting on the point that we know for a fact that the BBC, at least up until the death of Jimmy Savile, was riddled by people who were at the very least, actively enabled the pedophile. So that's why I have very little time for the BBC.
Well, as someone said in the comments, Kehinde Andrews now defines BBC policy. It's sort of the inverse of that. Kehinde Andrews legitimizes the policy that the BBC wants to put forward. That's why he's there. It's some people have kind of seem to have the causality of it a bit backwards. Don't understand that the policy comes from the institutions themselves. These same ones we're meant to be beholden to and have a faith within.
Oh, still it?
Yeah, sorry, I was on mute.
Oh right, sorry.
Yeah. Otherwise, they wouldn't set up all these different kind of like diversity teams and like all of those kinds of things. If there wasn't an agenda that they wanted to push alongside it, there was something which I realized a couple of years ago. It's like, because if you're running a business or something, I don't see why having these very ideologically driven sections of the company are particularly necessary. They take a lot of time out of people's general day-to-day works, and it just seems to always come up with things which are very work safe. They'll be supported by the people who are in charge of the company, and like so many do that, and it doesn't get like more blatant than Stonewall. It's like Stonewall's top 100.
Really get from Gamergate though, which is a very sort of 2015, 2016 thing to suggest, but these people can only engage in this behavior because they can convince people that racism, sexism, this, that, and the next thing actually exists.
Yes.
That they are there not to solve the problem of sexism, racism, this, that, and the next thing. They're there to make you think that problem exists.
Yeah, it's like when you talk with trans activists. Trans activists will try and paint the image that there's never been a worse time to be trans in the UK, when the reality is it's literally not been better, except maybe a few years ago it was better when the NHS wasn't as clogged as it now is, because the NHS trans healthcare is a fucking atrocity at this point, but that's because the NHS is it's never going to be fully funded because it's impossible to fund it to an extent where the service would be similar to that in private, because it just simply costs too much. But going back to my kind of point, the trans activists will try and paint it that things are awful because that's what basically gives them social currency. They need to trade. Like, look at people like Philosophy Tube or Ellen Page when they came out.
Transphobia, because they would be out of a job and they would have no meaning anymore.
Yeah, but like look at the coming out of people like Ellen Page and Philosophy Tube. In their coming out, there'll be like one or two lines saying like, "I'm now living as this gender. My pronouns are this and this," because now everyone has to fucking point out their pronouns when it should be obvious. But then the majority of like Philosophy Tubes, which we went over on this stream, it was just talking about how awful it is to be trans. You know, it's Turf Island. I've seen like some Americans refer to the UK as, and they try and paint this image that it's a hellscape when like it has never been better. But they need to have that social currency because as these movements become successful, they get what the average person as a part of that quote unquote community would want. Like with gay men or lesbian women, you'd be wanting things like same-sex marriage.
These people are just imposing a struggle upon themselves that doesn't really exist, because otherwise they would just have nothing going for themselves.
Yeah, that's it. It's in place of an actual personality, and they make it their whole point to talk about.
It's like Sisyphus, but the rock doesn't exist.
Yeah, and
like mime Sisyphus.
Yes, essentially.
Like if anything, it is real self-hatred because it's very deprecating on yourself to try and say no matter what.
Trans colours on them. Rocks.
It's a big boulder. It's a big trans boulder. And Sisyphus is still all muscle, but he's got like a wig.
Yeah,
he's got a wig on.
Brickifus.
But yeah, very, very, very base rose there. All I want to say on this topic is that really it is like we're seeing like very fast pivots. I would not expect if this was like a new kind of like wedge debate issue where instead of talking about the fact that people aren't allowed out of their homes, we're now debating the fact whether or not our own flag is a hate symbol.
Yeah.
And that is how the debate is framed. And we're going to compromise on maybe it is. That's where it is.
Are you suggesting it's a distraction? That's a very interesting theory.
Well, all of this is, like I said, the whole Sarah Everard thing was just, like I said, it's just, they are framing the debates that they want to have, which is that you have no country, you have no rights, and, you know, basically you don't own property. You really do see the starts of the Great Reset stuff here of like basically just people screaming at you that you are a serf and you will do as you were told.
Yeah.
It's really the thrust of what all of this is. And the issues surrounding it, like I said, are just window dressing. It doesn't actually matter what is actually being discussed in terms of issues.
It's surrogate activities and background noise to, distract and chew up people's time instead of them actually engaging with the real problems in front of us. I
mean, the thing is, you have to fight back against it. Like you can't settle with the fact that maybe in some context Union Jack is racist. No, it's simply not racist. It's the flag of the nation.
Like I said, you simply don't engage with their debate and ask them where they're still harboring pedophiles. That's what I do.
Yeah,
you just go for the top issue. You go for the North FC Big Baz BBC's full of nonsense. That's how you win a debate about flags. And this is what the left has been doing for decades. They don't engage in an actual debate. They just scream, "You are a Nazi."
Well, yeah, I mean, I had this.
Out Trump's Nazi.
Yeah, it does.
I had this. This is a bit of a coincidence. Let me just bring up the tweet thread from earlier, because I kind of had like a bit of a conversation about this with someone who came up with quite an interesting narrative about me. Which I think kind of brings up this point. So here's a story from Ireland about a trans nonce who is being convicted of raping a 5 or 6 year old, and his lawyers. I don't give a shit about misgendering a nonce. I'm just going to make that very clear in case someone tries to be like, it's she. No, fuck off. I don't give a shit about nonce's feelings.
Have a gender. Your local nonce is.
I just don't have a gender.
Nonces don't have genders.
Not people. I think we can all agree on that. The graph thought is that they have more in common genetically with a crab than a human. I'm gonna defer to their science. The science is settled.
Yes.
But the judges, the lawyers argued the sentencing did not give enough regard to the difficulties their client would face in prison as a transgender woman. So it's like, yeah, you're in, like, we were sentencing this, convicting this nonce and sentencing this nonce who is a man, but identifies as a woman. So we're going to put him in a women's prison. Oh, but you still not take it. That's still not good enough. You still need to. It's going to be really tough for this nonce in a women's prison. Yeah, I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's going to be really, really hard for it. My heart really breaks for the man who raped a 5-year-old. Like, how I don't give a shit about the feelings. So just put this place: the nonce who is a trans is in a women's prison. The nonce's lawyers still want special treatment. Everything is ashes. And then I ended up having this person kind of jump in about like, lawyers work for the best legal outcome. This is all pretty normal, but tries to bring up tries to kind of self-insert a narrative, trying to imply that I'm having a problem with this. That I'm having a problem with this because the nonce is a tranner.
Lezoom.
Lezoom. Yeah. So basically, I just have to call out every single nonce. I can't just call out the trans nonce. I got to call out every single nonce.
Calling out the fact that the legal system is giving a nonce special treatment.
Yeah, I just point out, guys, don't take issue with a nonce unless you take the time to call out every nonce ever. But then she still kind of brings up her narrative, saying like, "Oh, I've not cared. I've not called out any nonces in the past. Not one other time. Not a single other time. You've not cared about it. Suddenly, one is trans." So like instantly, just kind of putting in your narrative of, this is actually what's going on. Because when they always talk about dog whistles. Which are only ever heard by leftists. Only a leftist hears the dog whistle, and that's very telling. And so I'm effectively being accused of, like, you only care about it if it's a trans person. So then I pointed out, yesterday, tweeted about the nonce from Drag Queen Story Hour, not a tranner. But then straight away, though, you seem to have some desire to link gender nonconformity to paedophilia. Like, no, that's just where your mind goes. Here is another one, another post where I was talking about the butterfly symbol that pedos use.
You can't really expect them to debate in good faith. To them, you are evil, and because of your ideology, you will always be evil. And no matter what you said, they would still attack you.
The correct response here is face the wall, ma'am.
At the very least, she was like, "Oh wait, I don't." Although having said that, I don't see this personally as sincere. I kind of read it as being very sarky. But it's like, do you believe they're trying to still insert the narrative of, do you believe there is a link between gender nonconformity and elevated risk of paedophilia? It's like, no, I don't.
Well, when this person gets their inevitable trial for being a nonce because they seem obsessed with defending nonces, it seems to be the pipeline's very short here. Like the whole Drag Queen Story Hour person ended up being a nonce. There's a good chance that this person is, in fact, a nonce.
I'm just going to quickly make it clear. I'm not calling this person.
I'm going to say, if they can accuse you of being against trans people because you point this out, you can very easily. It's like the Hitchens raising. You can very easily accuse them of being a nonce because all you do now is throwing around accusations.
Exactly. I mean, and the amount of time I've had accusations thrown out against me from nowhere. Like one of the more interesting ones is this account called "What the Trans," which has accused me several times of being a racist and saying that they very much disagree with my ideas on race. I never talk about race unless I criticize something like movements like Black Lives Matter and the way in which leftists treat black people who disagree with them. But none of that is about my ideas on race. But they still have to insert, they kind of have that narrative and then they have to insert it on there. And it's all a dishonest argument.
As part of the dialectic, I mean, the very reason we have something like this, I would suggest, is that a large part of the people on the right would react to the story that you originally posted, primarily focusing on the fact that the individual is trans. And it's almost like they're basically being set up to fail. They have taken what is, an issue about child abuse and then sort of put their little pet, moralizing thing about not liking trannies on top And then because of that, you have people like this now that react to it as, oh, well, you're only calling them out because of that. If the right, never took these easy bait moralizing positions, you would never have to really deal with these people. So there's sort of a, it's a cyclical kind of effect with a lot of it.
Yeah, it is. And it's still something which I need to make sure that I don't fall for constantly. But they do it so often. It's always they'll design their narrative. They'll call everything a dog whistle, and they won't actually discuss it honestly. Like they come out with they constantly will come out with these allegations that I've been accused of cyberbullying, I've been accused of sending mobs after people, I've been accused of racism, of sexism, of homophobia, of all of this stuff. They never once actually present any evidence, but they still put the word out there. And it's just, well, you're this. And then you ask them for evidence, and then they move the goalposts, and they move the goalposts, and they move the goalposts, as this person did. Like, she moved the goalposts quite blatantly straight away, and just because it suited her narrative at the time, which was, you only have a problem with this because they're trans.
I'm gonna say, like I said, it's just, I know it's not the correct thing, but like I said, you can just play the same game. It's like, well, you only have a problem with me pointing this out because you're a nonce. It's the same logic, neither of which is a valid argument. No, and I don't find much cachet in talking to these people, which is why I've not been back on Twitter for a while. I've been on Minds. It's a plug. On
Minds. Let's talk about. Let's just quickly plug Minds again, because Minds, because Minds, there is some actual special content on Minds, some exclusive content that you won't find on Twitter. Is this?
Is it Cami content?
It's Cami. Look at her.
Go to minds.com/Road to Dawn if you want to see exclusive Cami content. I too post on Minds. I'll do my little spiel. I post on Minds pretty much every day. There's a lot of good stuff on there that is apolitical, a lot of good artists, a lot of good photographers. There's just a whole host of content on there that's a lot more discoverable than somewhere like Twitter. And it is a genuinely more entertaining place to go if you want to waste a bit of time. Go join Minds, follow me on Minds. It's a much more chill atmosphere.
It is a much nicer atmosphere. I do actually prefer it to Twitter. But Twitter is just kind of one of those things where I would say that I am kind of addicted to it, and so I am trying to wean myself off it.
I just love radicalizing people on it. I love posting stuff that's so right wing that people think I'm a leftist. It's hilarious.
But look, your Minds, you get special Cami content not available anywhere else. Here, I'm showing her there's special channels dedicated for cats, because she loves watching TV. Like whenever I'm playing Destiny, she really gets into watching it.
Okay.
Yeah, this is making me kind of Ted pilled, to be honest. That cat should be out chasing a real mouse.
Yeah, it's this. I don't know. Technological mice for indoor cats.
Return to Thomas and Gerald.
Return to Tom. But look, she's enjoying it. She's having fun. But I think we should probably move quickly onto the last seal. We can just cross this one off quite quickly, because there isn't so much to talk about, but it's just something that I thought was kind of a bit interesting, considering the people I know who have had some kind of interactions with the man. So Milo Yiannopoulos kind of disappeared years ago. Good riddance, because I think when the left often call people on the right grifters, which is effectively their term for anyone who they disagree with. Dev did a really good video on that, which I recommend everyone go out and watch. But I would say that Milo has done a lot of blatant things to maximize the amount of profit that he gets from particular events, including bankrupting.
Coke bill somehow.
I'm going to say all of those profits went up his nose, unfortunately.
Yeah. He's effectively bankrupted events in the past because his demands became more and more and more expensive, which is a massive jerk move. And he's been quite largely irrelevant for a while, but this seems to be like his comeback into the spotlight. And now
it's attention you ordered. Yes,
here's the attention, and so now he's now an ex-gay.
No, he's now pushed a wholesale.
Yeah, that's what it seems. This is going to be like the privileged grant. All of the money for this is going to mysteriously go missing. Where's the fucking privilege grant, Milo?
Yeah.
I don't know. I felt like going to fucking Sargon's events when he decided to bafflingly partner himself with Milo, not realize the shit he'd done, and just yell at him, "Where's the privilege grant, Milo?" over and over again until he left.
Was it Colombian marching lessons? I think they were getting for the children.
It was Peruvian talcum powder, I believe.
Oh, right.
Oh god. So like I'm not actually surprised that he's coming out with all of this. Like I kind of had a feeling that he would.
That man does attention grabbing move.
No, he's going full circle from being blacked. Burn the coal, pay the toll.
Oof.
Like I don't know why he's kind of being given much attention for this again. I think he is.
Yeah,
I think he's just generally, here we are talking about it. I know.
Nah, he's either a junkie or controlled opposition, if not both.
Pay no attention to the fag behind the curtain.
I would go with him being junkie. I would go with him being
both.
That's what I said, junkie or controlled op, if not both.
He doesn't glow as hard as Richard Spencer does, but he's got a slight halo about him.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
I don't know. He's just, like I said, he's someone who was bafflingly popular for a little bit, mainly just because of how ape shit people went about his existence. And then people just realized he was stealing everyone's money, and everyone embarrassedly kind of backed away from the man. And again, it's sad. It's sad that he's wanting attention this badly. And it's funny that he's essentially just declared himself a volcel, like you said. That's the thrust of it. But he's not any kind of serious figure in anyone's tent. He's not a right-wing figure. He's not a left-wing figure. He's just a fucking broke-ass drug addict.
Yeah.
Is what Milo Yiannopoulos is, who has burned his bridge with everybody in what was considered like left-free speech alliance.
I mean, what does he look like these days? I've not seen him without the fake tan, the highlights, and this, that, and the next thing. He must look like an old bag.
He's been tanned like a leather handbag.
He's gone through his ninth gay death.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I don't really have much.
Celibate.
Yes, it does.
I don't really have too much more to say about it. I would say that I don't expect his conversion therapy center to take off. I do think that the funds will mysteriously go missing again because people just don't seem to learn when they're dealing with this guy. I wouldn't kind of. I don't think people like you said, Scrump. I don't think people really take him all that seriously.
You'll have more luck dealing to Milo than dealing with him these days, I think. So.
So does anyone have anything else they'd like to add on Milo before we go to the real news of the week?
Nah, I think the only final arc in the Milo story will be some sort of interaction with certain autoimmune disorders.
Oh. So so now it is time for our seal of the week, and since I had a seal of the week lined up for Wednesday, and I've got a bonus seal for the belated stream as well.
Ooh.
So let's start with the first one from Wednesday. Now, Wednesday's seal isn't a seal at all. It's a walrus.
Oh, lies.
It's a walrus.
It's a walrus for ants, apparently.
An Arctic walrus has been spotted in Ireland.
Portrait walrus. It's optimized for mobile again, walrus.
And look, there he is. There's the walrus. He's got tusks. And he ventured over to Ireland. And what's quite special about this is in January last year, there was a ringed seal that was found in Ireland. Now, ringed seals are Arctic seals. They're very small. They're very round. And this seal was rescued by Seal Rescue Ireland, and they named her Cloudberry. And she was my seal of the year for 2020. Like, she was this round, angry little seal that would regularly like go and slap other seals, and she basically, like, yeah, I mean, she kind of had like small seal syndrome. Like she was a lot smaller than all the other seals, but was like flexing her blubber.
I'm contractually bound to say goo 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 as the chat did, but okay, now it's gone. We can all stop.
So yeah, so it's amazing to see walruses like this far south.
Oh, sorry. Just
walruses. Hello, fellow seals. But no, I just wanted to highlight this because it's a walrus. Walruses are pretty cool, and yeah, they're now venturing further south. But I think you all want a proper seal.
We do.
You want a true seal, and here is a true seal. Incredible seal as swimming near to people who are sunbathing.
So it's a friendly seal.
Yeah, so playful seal swims right up. So it's a harbour seal, which are also known as common seals.
Oof.
This isn't seal footage.
Peasant seal. It appears
here we go.
Evan also plays deep at this point.
Here we go. Right, let's put that. Look at
there
him.
We go. I can stop squinting now.
Look at him. Hello,
Mr. Seal.
Look at that seal.
He's gonna steal the fibs and the egg.
He's off to find.
And he's gonna get choked to death outside the 7-Eleven.
They're very good.
They are doggos of the sea. Yes.
There he is. See, this is why seals are, they're just the best. We need to make sure that we're here to talk about the news, but we're also here to talk about the seals.
We have a poll this week, though. That's the thing.
I would say it is about the high def seal porpoising action.
It is, yes.
God damn it! I'm getting really bad with this, aren't I?
Do we have a straw poll?
No,
we do not have a straw poll. So if you guys would like to put in the chat who you think gets the seal of approval this week,
next week there will be a straw poll. I promise. I promise.
I'm not putting on chat either, so I couldn't even post one if I made one.
I will make sure there is one for next week. I promise.
Mod, please.
So vote. So far, there's a vote for Cammy. There's a vote for Cammy. Another vote for Cammy.
Oh no!
The walrus.
We're getting
I get a vote. Hooray!
It's always just going to be. Can we disqualify? Oh, you're getting 2 votes. Yeah.
Oh, it obviously can't be that DG individual who've not talked the whole time.
I don't know, guest.
They've been muted this whole time.
Yeah, you've just got a different accent.
I'm doing a bit.
Yeah, this is brilliant.
Like a sock puppet. It's like an Orville thing.
So it looks like it's between me and Cammy.
I think we'll have to disqualify Cammy, so I think you have to get the seal of approval. I'm sorry that Cammy is OP.
Cammy is OP. I mean, like, I would put her back on camera, but she's actually like curled up asleep right under.
Fuck you. I will say, I'm not to ruin the wholesomeness, but I thought of the perfect response to your comment about Milo earlier, which is, the end of his arc is going to go from just being AIDS to also having it. But anyway, that's my edge comment.
Just stealing my joke at that point, though.
Yeah, I am. I'm adding to your joke. I'm riffing on it.
Also stealing your own joke.
It's Cammy won, but Cammy is disqualified for being a cat.
But she was there for the first 20 seconds. The first 20 seconds, like that was some real prime. Like these were opinions that people needed to know.
Self-actualize.
She was good. But she's
the skills of production.
She's the skills of production. So she's completely curled up under my desk now. So I can't disturb her. I would put her back on camera, but I need to let her sleep.
I do like the chat's constant weird seal but okay comments about Cammy. Those do.
She does like her Phoebes.
It's a cameo. Oh yeah, that's a terrible pun.
We had to bring back Brexit seal.
Baz the seal.
Proper Baz. Baz the seal. It should have been Frey Bento's Phoebes pie, but I don't think they do such a thing. That would have made it a bit better.
I would trust the Frey Bento's tinned fish pie.
No, not at all.
That sounds like a bowel disaster waiting to happen.
A Frey Bentos fish cake sounds to me like the kind of thing you could use as a hockey puck.
It's either that or a biological weapon.
So, what the hell? Sorry, I've just got some random music playing in the background.
It'll be an autoplay from one of your windows.
Yeah, first canned food with a striker on
it.
So in that case, I will take the win. But before we go, Scrump, do you have anything that you would like to plug?
Not really. We had our stream. We did have a stream yesterday. If you want to watch the VOD on my YouTube channel, we'll be doing one again next Thursday, hopefully, if nothing really gets in the way. But yeah, my YouTube channel's kind of chugging along there. I do put out generally weekly streams. I'm not going to promise them because we've had to delay a couple of them. But yeah, content gets made eventually, and it does get made at least on a bi-weekly basis at the moment.
Yeah.
So do tune in Thursdays, 9 p.m. for Starman and the Boomer, because there's a good chance, there's at least a 50-50 chance we'll be there.
So I've also started playing games. I've been testing out Twitch over the last couple of weeks. Last week, played Halo with some people from the Discord, and week before it was Sea of Thieves. I say people from the Discord, it's basically Antonia and Charity. But you should, if you want to play games and stuff, you should come to Discord. We're going to try and have like game nights and stuff. And I'm not just going to play multiplayer games and stuff. I'm going to do some streams of different games. I'll show you. I'll just do a sneak peek of the kind of winning content that you could expect to see on my channel.
See, it challenged people to a game of Tekken 7, but no one seems to fucking own it anymore.
Cringe.
What?
So
smash and abuse kids.
look at the kind of thing that we could be playing.
Active fighting game. What is this?
Hurry up, Thomas.
Is this rather AA inspired?
Well, this is amazing. This is Thomas the Tank Engine on the Amiga 1200.
Ooh.
And so if you want your your solid retro gaming,
I actually realized this was like just being.
You've just got an emulator up.
Yes, this is an Amiga emulator, which I just got working the other day. And so,
didn't you watch the PSAs?
Ooh. You wouldn't steal a digital train game.
This is actually a ridiculously hard game because the idea is you play as the Thomas.
Moment.
I'm quite enjoying the amount of parallax though. That's far more parallax than a Thomas train dodging game should have, especially on the Amiga 1200.
And you have I just love the faces on the trains, like Percy. They just look dead inside. Look, it's cursed. I've been trying to tell AA to give one of these Thomas games a try. But surprisingly, he doesn't seem all that into it.
He doesn't fucking love. There's certain people out there who just fucking love trains. He doesn't seem to be one of them, which is weird because AA, being the most boring man on the planet, would be a prime candidate for I fucking love trains.
Well, one of his favorite YouTube channels at the moment is a YouTube channel where the guy talks about Thomas the Tank Engine cannons. If you have a look, Thomas's expression changes depending on the difficulty.
Yeah,
so he goes to like the hardest level.
Why is it that both Thomas and the Fat Controller look like they know where the bodies are at?
Oh, that pickup, that's peak Amiga. I'm reminded of the terrible Wacky Races game I used to have. It is a deep cut. I used to, my family used to own an Acorn Archimedes.
You actually had an Acorn? I thought they were just, oh, God damn it. Bill and / or Ben just...
You just got completely railed.
The iframes.
The iframes. Can you reenact the trolley problem on this? Yes, I actually did have an Acorn Archimedes.
Oh, bloody hell. I didn't know anyone that actually had one that wasn't like a school. Like, for me, as far as I was concerned, they were always like school computers.
It's a relatively rare model with actually quite a lot of like home, like pirate ported software. And unfortunately, my mum decided to take it to recycling. Not like it wasn't even that long. It was only a few years ago, and I was like, "No, you recycle what is quite literally a historical artifact." It was the non-educational versions of the Acorn Archimedes were actually relatively uncommon, especially the version I've learned we had when I've gone to look at it. And I don't know, it kind of makes me a bit sad that went missing. But anyway, yeah, that's some kind of early '90s British micro-autism for you. And for those who don't know, the Acorn Archimedes is what the original ARM chips were designed for. That is basically the grandfather of every fucking smartphone, which is kind of weird.
I mean, not as weird as... Oh, God damn it.
Anyway, we should probably
head on. I don't want to spoil the grand finale to Thomas.
Thomas. One thing I'll say about Amiga games is there's a game out there called Lotus Turbo Challenge 2, which if you get to the end of it, you see the most glorious early 90s mullets of the designers that they've pixel arted themselves in. It's pretty amazing. And it has a great theme too. But anyway, yes.
So I'm going to play like various. I'm not just going to play Thomas the Tank Engine. I'm going to play other things as well. But I want to do, it's just going to be like a cool hangout stream. So come sign up to Discord, sign up to Twitch. We'll hang out. So anyway, thanks everyone for tuning in. Thank you to the super chats. I can see there was one last super chat which came in from Freedom Bono. There isn't any text here, but I can see you donated £5. Thank you.
There wasn't any text when it came up, so that's not an error.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, and thanks to everyone who sent in super chats. I really appreciate it. Thank you everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you all next week at the usual time. Bye.
See you next week. Bye.
Bye.